Hello, this is Ashton. I wanted to make a enhancement video for the previous video we made for exceptions, blocking, injecting variables using select statements. So let's get started. So I'm a big fan of object-oriented programming. I don't like to repeat code, so let's get to it. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna all actually alter our declare within our declare statement. And what we want to do is we're going to write a procedure. So this procedure, you got two different things. There's there's a difference between procedures and functions. Functions return things, procedures don't. So in this case, we're going to write a procedure to actually handle this block of code right here because I want to kind of make it a little bit easier on the eyes, and I want it to be decoupled so that I can continue to reuse maybe this if I have more things I want to print out or something like that. So first thing we start out with is our procedure block. So we call make the procedure and we say print record. Okay, so the next thing is we're gonna have our uh, is, let's do is, and then we'll do a begin, and what happens after begin, we have an end. Okay, so after begin we have the end. So now let's talk about what kind of things are we want to inject into here. So like our parameters. So the parameters that I want is I'm going to do this right here because these are the parameters that I want to plug into this function or procedure. Well, procedure. And so now let's talk about what are we going to do with these. So I have some things that I pre-made. So what I'm going to do is actually let's take this block right here and we're going to cut it out, remove this right here, and we're going to put that in here. And if you noticed, now our variables will need to change because it's no longer rec. So they're all in. Let's do in because it matches these right here. And we're going to do an in here, and in here, and in here, and we're going to do an in here. So now let's talk about how we would call it. So right here, this is where we actually do the exception and all that stuff. The exception will actually flow over into if this procedure fails right here. So whenever we found a no data, it'll still act the way that we wanted it to act. So let's I got a snippet of code that I wrote. So let's take this right here, this snippet that I have, and if you notice, I'm calling my procedure and I'm calling in the variables that I injected. Okay, so what I can do is make this a little bit easier so you can see the whole context of it. It's just like running a regular procedure. Okay, and remember this has to match. So department ID has to be department ID, and in this case I did put in number right here. Okay, in varchar, in varchar, in number, and I get these from the actual input. I mean the actual tables. I look at those fields in the tables, and that's where I get those from. Okay, and I don't want to use this right here because I kind of want to decouple it a little bit. I don't want it to depend on the metadata from this table. So I want to be able to put other things in here if I wanted to reuse it or something like that. Okay. So now that we got that, we do our call. Let's do some tests. Okay. So let's go over to our PLSQL, SQL Plus, and let's run our file again. Okay. It asks us. Let's do 114. And we have a problem somewhere, so let's figure out where this problem is. So it looks like it says it's where the end is. So let's see. So we have we have to declare, we got the is begin, we got the begin, we got the end of the procedure. Ah, here it is right here. We forgot our semicolon after our instruction. So let's run it again. And 114, and there we go, it works as expected. Okay, so let's do some more enhancements. So what I want to do is I am going to I want to make a driver now. So let's do this. Let's make a driver. Driver is what's going to run this whole program. So this make it where I can have multiple programs inside of one program. So let's do this again. Let's practice our technique again. Okay, let's do procedure. And what we're going to do is we're going to say run report or something like that. Okay. And I'm not going to have nothing going into this. It's going to use all global variables. But we have to do the is. We have to do the begin. And we have to put in the end. Okay. So now let's take this piece of code right here. Since this is all going to be global, everything is global, we should be fine here. And I'm going to take it up to the exception. I'm going to leave the exception on outside, and I'm going to copy and paste this. So let's cut it, and we're going to paste this in here. And then let's talk about how we're going to run our driver. So this is our main driver for the entire program. So I'm going to put the driver right here. We're going to call it here. And let's move it over a bit. And let's do this. Let's go and give it another run. There we go. Still works. Oh, got an issue somewhere. So let's see. I got the run report. Let's make sure that everything in here is proper. Okay. Might have been I didn't save it or something like that. So let's try it again. And let's go to 114. And it still doesn't like it. Let's figure out what's going on here. So let's go over here. We got the print record. Inside of here, we have the run report. We have the run report right here. And let's see where we went wrong. Let's see. We have our end, we have our begin, have our procedure right here. Let's see if I can get away with this right here. It might be the parameter thing, I'm not sure. Okay, yeah, it's the parameter thing because I don't have any parameters I'm passing to here. So what I'm gonna do is, for best practice, let's pass a parameter. So right here, let's say we want to pass the employee ID. So what I'm gonna do here is I'm gonna say my employee. Say I want to capitalize that, my employee ID. Now we need to give it a type. Let's say it'd be a number. Okay. And then what we're going to do is we're going to pass this to this right here. Now we got to make a few more changes too. So what we're going to do is take this right here because we still wanted to access what the employee ID is, and we're going to pass employee ID here. Okay. So it should access what the employee ID is still. So let's give it a run. See, it accessed employee ID for it. Let's test our worst case is if we don't find anything and everything works. Okay. So now let's do this. Let's take it up a notch. So let's say that we want to let's enhance the output and put it in some standard output for our exception. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to get rid of this. And if you look in the Oracle documentation, this right here, you can actually use raise application error, and you can give it the error ID along with the message you wanted to show. So let's give that a test. Let's do both cases. If we do a 114 and it's successful, and then let's do this case right here where we do a not found. And see, right here, this is very important. See that? It actually gives us more information. And it gives us that the error code that we sent in there. Okay. So now let's talk about if we want to accept parameters outside of the script for automation. Okay. So what happens is you run into when you do parameters. Let's just talk about parameters. Okay. So say I do parameters. In most languages, the file name is the first parameter. Okay, is 0, parameter 0. The second parameter is parameter 1, and then the third parameter is parameter 2. Knowing that, let's do this. Let's make it where we can automate this script and run it from the outside. So what I'm going to do right here is I'm going to take this and let's just do a test. Let's turn this into 1. Okay. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to go over to here and let's do a test. Let's see if it's still access. Yeah, it's still access for the 114. Let's do this. Now, this time, let's put the 114 as input and see what happens. See? So now, let's take this parameter and let's standardize it a little bit more. So let's go over to here. And what we're going to do is we're going to go to the declare spot. And we're going to say employee ID. Let's put employee ID. I'm going to do a lowercase. I'll do my employee ID. The reason why I do that is because I don't want my variables to get mixed up with the procedure variables. I've had that happen before. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to put this as a number. Okay. So what I'm going to do, so for the type, I'm going to put it as a number. And let's do number. And what I can do is I can possibly do this right here. And I can put it as that first parameter. Let's see what happens. Hopefully I did it right. So then what I got to do is take my employee, and I have to take my employee and pass it here. Okay. And so let's go over to here. Let's test it out. We got the 114. So this seemed like we still got a bit of a problem. The my employee number. Okay. So let's see what's going on. This right here might be the problem, where we set that number right there. So we can possibly, let's see something. Let me go over to set that. Let's take this out. I can just do this right here. See what happens. We might have to put a variable. Yeah, we have to put a variable name. Whoops. Whoops, I'm sorry. So let's fix it. So let me see something. Let's go over to see what we can do to fix this. See something. Let's go over to my 13 where I had my parameter. Here we go right here. I did do it right. I put the number in there. Okay. And so this should be, I see what the problem is. Haha. Common issue. I go too fast sometimes. So let's go. Let's set it, and now it's working. Okay. And then see if we set 1, and now we can actually automate this as much as we want. And that's all I have about a couple enhancements. We kind of modularize some of the code. We and sometimes when you modularize, it's kind of difficult to read, but you can actually do unit testing and make unit tests for these type to help out to test out a lot of the code that you write, and it makes it where it's reusable as well. And you can write an application a lot better with more organization as it being decoupled. And that's about it.